Shabbos koydem, Shabbos koydem. Hashem Eloheinu, Hashem Elecha, Hashem Elecha
Good Shabbos. Today is Tainus Esther, Thursday. As we're getting ready to greet Shabbos before Purim, Shabbos Zachar, Saturday night Motzei Shabbos is going to be Purim, and then the final Suda Sunday, Shushan Purim Monday. Let's just take a minute to prepare as we get into this moment, the greatest day of the year, Purim, and the preparation that began today with Tainus Esther. When we think about our mission in this world and our place in life, we reflect as Jews through our journey into exile, into redemption, building of the temple gets destroyed, the next temple, the destruction again, and so on and so forth, how we go through life. Remembering is redemption. Forgetting is exile. This Purim, we see the Megillah begins with the Jewish people forgetting who they were as a nation, who they were as a people, as they're there in exile in Persia, enjoying at the Suda, at the meal of King Achashverosh. They were very far from Jerusalem. Many of us find that story happening and unfolding today, unfortunately, throughout the world, of Jews far and distant from Jerusalem, forgetting exile. This Purim we begin to remember. Remembering is redemption. We see in the Megillah that Esther is there in the king's palace, and she's not even aware of the decree that is coming out upon the Jewish people that they're going to be destroyed forever. Or so Haman thought. It's that moment when she remembers her people, and she reconnects outside with Mordechai HaTzadik, that the entire redemption begins. Remembering who she was and who her people are. That's our job this Purim, is to look at another Jew and we give him Mishloach Manos, we give Matanas Le'Evyonim, we start to bring that memory back. We start to remember. We start to find our place. We start to connect to one another, and then we take it back a generation, and back a generation, all to the beginning of time and the beginning of the Jewish people. And then, in order to know where you're going to, you got to know where you're coming from. We're coming from Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moshe, David, Mount Sinai, all of the great temples, and we're on our way to Mashiach, to the final redemption. As we conclude the Megillah, we sing the song, the Gemara discusses it, all the Chazal discuss it, Shoshanas Yaakov, Tzahala B'Samech, Haber Samyachat Techeles Mordechai. The Jewish people rejoiced when? When they saw the tzitzit, the blue string of the Tcheles of Mordechai. When Haman was marching him through the streets on the big horse, saying the famous words, Kacha Yeselesh Asher HaMelech Hafetz Bikarai. So should be done to this person who the king finds favor in his eyes. Now we know this Melech doesn't just mean King Achashverosh, it also means Melech Malchei Amlachim, the king of the world. He found favor in Mordechai's eyes. Do you know why? Because Mordechai was showing the world his techeles, the blue string on the tzitzis. So how do we conclude the Megillah? With the song that the entire Jewish people rejoiced when? When they saw the blue string on Mordechai's tzitzis. Now we know that the job of a Rebbe is to connect one soul to heaven. We learned this very clearly from Mordechai. They didn't just see a halachic authority on a vessel level, which is important. We need that to be set up properly. But what's going to give us the inspiration, the strength to be able to combat all the distractions in the world is a Mordechai HaTzadik, that when you see him, you see the blue. The blue of the tzitzit we know resembles the blue of the heavens, the blue of the eternal worlds above. Blue is the spiritual letter, it's the seas and the heavens. The halacha discusses it when it's giving over the idea of tzitzis and the breakdown of tzitzis. They saw the blue of Mordechai. They saw the heaven in Mordechai. They saw that connectedness. That's what Mordechai brought about, that connectedness. Purim, we reconnect to our heritage. We reconnect to one another by giving Mishloach Manos, by hearing the Megillah together, by drinking L'chaim together with one another. At that moment, everything becomes to that level of redemption, which is remembering, finding our place. This conclusion of Shoshanas Yaakov Tzahalav Samecha that we sing at the end of the Megillah in Shul, both at night and by day, in English goes as following: The rose of Jacob was cheerful and glad when they jointly saw Mordechai robed in royal blue. We just finished discussing the blue, a little bit of the idea into blue. Beautiful, the Sfarim HaKadoshim bring down, why is it Yaakov that we begin singing about it? The rose of Yaakov, Shoshanas Yaakov, the rose of Yaakov. Why do we remember Yaakov? We're often referred to as Yisrael. The Jewish people were referred to as Yehuda. What is this focus on Jacob at this point in the conclusion of the Megillah? So if you look back, the famous words that Jacob said when he was going to meet Esau after that long separation and they were reuniting for the first time, he says, Jacob says, Hatzileni na miyad achi miyad Esav. Please Hashem, save me from my brother, from the hands of my brother, from the hands of Esav. Everyone asks, what's the double lashon? Why does it have to say, save me from my brother Esav, from the hands of my brother Esav? Let it just say, let me save it from the hands of my brother, or please save me from the hands of Esav. So we know that Mordechai was teaching us a great lesson. Brotherhood leads to assimilation. When a Jew forgets his place in this world, he forgets that he's a Yid, and we become really close, and we're all one. Everybody loves us. Everyone loves us. The Torah says, Esav sones Yaakov. Eternally, Esau will be at odds with Jacob. Listen what the Sefer says. It says when Jacob sent the gifts to appease Esau at that first reuniting, that reunion, he says, the verse says in chapter 32, verse 20 in Genesis, Vayitzav gam es hasheni, gam es hashlishi, gam es kol ha'holchem, masha shilem hakasav b'lashon gam gam gam. The pasuk says 3 times a order of how Jacob was explaining to everybody to bring the gifts. And he used this word gam, which means also, as the second rows come in to give the gifts of cattle and produce, he was giving specific instructions. The Chachamim explain in the Medrash that the word gam is referring to the 3 different exiles. Our first exile, our second exile, and our third exile. And each one of them went in a certain way where we went through a stage of forgetting. Remembering was brought about, the Zohar HaKadosh says, that Gam stands for, the first redemption was from Egypt, Gam Geulat Moshe, the redemption of Moshe. Second was Geulat Mordechai, the redemption of Mordechai. And the third temple is going to be brought about with Gam Geulat Mashiach. We should all merit to see the redemption speedily in our days. Have a great Shabbos.